The quantum sensors aboard the UES Sentinel registered the silence first. Commander Elena Reyes stood at her station, dark eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed nothing where something should have been. Research Station Omega-7, humanity's furthest deep space outpost, had gone dark. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply vanished, as if it had never existed. "Run the diagnostic again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the unease crawling up her spine. This was the third station to disappear in as many months. The first two could have been explained away as accidents, technical failures, or simple bad luck. But three? That crossed the line from coincidence into pattern. Lieutenant Sarah Foster's fingers danced across the neural interface. "Diagnostic complete, Commander. No equipment malfunction. The station is just gone." Elena ran her hand through her short black hair, a habit from her academy days that surfaced whenever she faced a puzzle. 15 years of deep space service had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, every one of them was screaming danger. "Show me the quantum signature analysis from the last 24 hours, she commanded. The holographic display shifted, filling the bridge with a three-dimensional representation of space-time distortions around the station's last known location. Most officers would see only random fluctuations, but Elena had spent years studying the patterns between the patterns. There, just at the edge of detection range, a ripple in space-time that shouldn't exist, too regular to be natural, too subtle to trigger standard alarms. Someone or something was hunting humanity's outposts, and they were doing it with technology far beyond anything Earth had officially developed. Elena opened a secure quantum channel to Earth Defense Command. "Command, this is Commander Reyes aboard the Sentinel, requesting immediate consultation with Admiral Chen. Priority Alpha." The response was instant, suggesting they'd been waiting for her call. Admiral James Chen's weathered face appeared in her private neural display. "Go ahead, Commander. I take it you found something." "3 stations aren't a coincidence, sir. I'm detecting quantum signatures that match theoretical models for consciousness transfer technology. Someone's not just destroying our stations, they're harvesting them. Crew and all." The Admiral's expression didn't change, but Elena caught the slight tightening around his eyes. "You're certain about this?" "As certain as I can be without more data. Sir, if I'm right, we're not dealing with random attacks or even traditional warfare. This is something else entirely." Chen was silent for a long moment, his eyes focused on something off-screen. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of command. "Commander Reyes, you are hereby authorized to activate Protocol Lazarus. Authorization code, Quantum Shadow 990. Elena's breath caught in her throat. Protocol Lazarus was theoretical, a contingency so secret that most thought it was just a rumor. The fact that it actually existed meant humanity had been preparing for something like this for a very long time. "Sir, my crew isn't cleared for." "They are now," Chen interrupted. "Your ship's quantum core will receive new parameters within the hour." "Commander, Elena, what you're about to learn will challenge everything you think you know about humanity's place in the universe. Trust your instincts, but remember that sometimes the best defense is letting your enemy underestimate you." The transmission ended, leaving Elena alone with the weight of new knowledge pressing against her mind. She turned to her crew, noting how they pretended not to have noticed her classified conversation. They were good people, the best in the fleet. They deserved to know what they were really facing. "Lieutenant Foster, seal the bridge. Full quantum isolation protocols." She waited until the quantum fields hummed to life, creating a bubble of absolute privacy. "What I'm about to tell you never leaves this room. Earth has been preparing for this moment for over 50 years. Those stories about black-budget research projects, missing scientists, and classified technological breakthroughs. They weren't just stories." The bridge crew listened in stunned silence as Elena explained the truth. Humanity had detected the first signs of the harvesters decades ago, quantum echoes of civilizations that had vanished without trace. The disappeared scientists hadn't vanished. They'd been recruited into humanity's greatest secret, Project Lazarus, a massive underground effort to develop defenses against consciousness theft. The Sentinel isn't just a patrol ship, Elena continued, watching understanding dawn in her crew's eyes. She's a prototype. Everything you think you know about her capabilities is a carefully crafted deception. Lieutenant Foster, initiate Lazarus protocols. Let's show our hunters what humanity is really capable of. The ship shuddered as hidden systems activated. Panels shifted, revealing weapons that shouldn't exist. The quantum core's hum changed pitch as it accessed its true power. On the surface, the Sentinel still appeared to be a standard patrol vessel. But beneath that facade lay humanity's answer to the Harvester's threat. New contact. Foster's voice cut through the tension. Massive quantum distortion at bearing 030. Something's coming through. Elena straightened, feeling the weight of command settle more firmly on her shoulders. Battle stations. But remember, we play weak until I give the word. Let's see what we're really up against. The thing that emerged from the quantum distortion defied easy description. It was vast, its surface rippling with patterns that hurt the eyes to look at directly. Here was humanity's hunter, finally revealed. A transmission cut through all frequencies. Attention, human vessel. You have entered a harvesting zone. Prepare for consciousness extraction. Resistance is. Sir, Foster's voice was tight with controlled excitement. I'm detecting quantum signatures identical to those at the missing stations. This is them. This is who's been taking our people. Elena's lips curved into a grim smile. Finally, proof of what they'd suspected for so long. Time to spring the trap. All hands, prepare for combat. Let's show them why you don't hunt a species that turned itself from prey into the ultimate predators. The Sentinel's true weapons powered up, ready to demonstrate that humanity's apparent technological level was the greatest deception of all. The Harvesters were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating their prey. Deep beneath the Himalayas, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Dr. Kai Zhang watched the quantum displays with intense focus. The Sentinel's encounter had confirmed their worst fears. The Harvesters, now identified as the Vyrix, had finally turned their full attention to Earth. But humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the hidden fleet or the advanced quantum technology. It was the fact that they'd known this day was coming. Status of the consciousness shield, he asked, his voice echoing through the cavernous command center. Around him, rows of quantum processors hummed with barely contained power, each one a node in the most sophisticated defense network ever created. Dr. Maya Chen, his longtime colleague and the architect of the shield's neural interface, checked her readings. The grid is stable. All 7 billion human minds are now protected by the quantum lattice. If the Vyrix try their usual harvest tactics, they're in for a surprise. Kai allowed himself a small smile. 20 years of work, all leading to this moment. The consciousness shield was humanity's masterstroke, a quantum field that protected human minds from external manipulation. But it was more than just a defense. It was a weapon. Signal from the Sentinel, Maya announced. Commander Rise is initiating Phase 2. The main display lit up with tactical data. The Vyrix had taken the bait, pursuing the seemingly vulnerable patrol ship deeper into the solar system. Behind their massive harvest vessel, more ships emerged from quantum space, an invasion fleet large enough to subdue a civilization. Or so they thought. Execute Operation Mindfire, Kai commanded. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum satellites activated. The trap was ready. Aboard the Sentinel, Commander Rice watched the Vyrix fleet advance. Their arrogance was palpable. They'd fallen for the act completely, believing they faced a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel. All stations report ready, Lieutenant Foster announced. The quantum grid is synchronized. Elena took a deep breath. Send the signal. Let's show them what humanity can really do. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses revealed themselves. Quantum shields flickered into existence around every human settlement. Stealth platforms emerged from dimensional pockets, and most importantly, the consciousness shield reached full power. The Virics struck first, launching their consciousness harvesting beam, a weapon that had claimed countless civilizations. It washed over the Sentinel in a wave of quantum energy, and found nothing to grasp. "Their weapon is failing," Foster reported, excitement creeping into her voice. "The shield is working perfectly. They can't access our minds." Alina's response was cut short by a new transmission. The Virics commander appeared on their screens, its form a shifting mass of quantum energy barely contained in physical form. "Impossible," it stated, its artificial voice tinged with what might have been fear. "Your minds are protected." "How?" "You made a crucial mistake," Alina replied, allowing herself a grim smile. "You thought we didn't know you were coming. The truth is, we've been preparing for this moment for generations." The Sentinel's hidden weapons activated, quantum-tipped missiles launching in precise patterns. Each one carried a payload designed by Dr. Zhang's team. Consciousness disruption devices that turned the Virics' greatest weapon against them. The first missile struck home. The target ship's quantum field collapsed, its crew's collective consciousness shattered by human ingenuity. More missiles found their marks as the Virics fleet scrambled to respond, their carefully planned harvest turning into a desperate fight for survival. Back in the Himalayan facility, Kai watched the battle unfold with mixed emotions. The weapons he'd helped create were devastating, not just destroying ships, but disrupting the very essence of their crews. It was necessary, he knew, but the scientist in him couldn't help but mourn the loss of knowledge. "They're retreating," Maya reported. "The fleet is attempting to open quantum corridors for escape." Kai nodded. "Let them run. They need to report back to their leaders. The galaxy needs to know that humanity isn't prey anymore." The victory was swift, but the implications were enormous. The Virics would return, and next time they wouldn't underestimate humanity's capabilities. But that had always been part of the plan. In her quantum-shielded office aboard the Sentinel, Alina received new orders from Admiral Chen. "Well done, Commander. But this was just the beginning. The Virics will adapt, and we need to be ready. Your next mission is already prepared." Alina reviewed the mission parameters, her eyes widening slightly. "Sir, this is aggressive." "Yes, the best defense is a good offense, Commander. The Virics thought they could harvest our civilization. Instead, we're going to dismantle theirs. Report to Luna Base for briefing. It's time for Phase 3. As the Sentinel set course for the moon, Alina contemplated what they'd learned about their enemy. The Virics were powerful, yes, but they were also predictable. They'd never faced a species that could resist their consciousness harvesting technology. Never mind turn it against them. Humanity had spent decades preparing not just to survive first contact, but to thrive in a hostile galaxy. The Virics thought they were dealing with prey. They were about to learn they'd awakened a predator. In the Himalayan Command Center, Kai and Maya began preparing the next phase of humanity's response. The consciousness shield had proven its worth, but it was capable of much more than defense. The quantum processors hummed with potential as they refined their calculations. The war for consciousness had begun, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why you don't threaten a species that had turned itself from prey into the ultimate predators. Luna Base's quantum labs hummed with activity as Operation Mindstorm entered its final preparation phase. Commander Alina Reyes studied the holographic display showing the Virics Empire's known territory, her mind already calculating possibilities. The latest intelligence painted a picture of an empire in chaos, their leadership struggling to understand how their supposedly primitive prey had turned the tables so dramatically. "Their entire society is built around consciousness harvesting," Admiral Chen explained, his hologram flickering slightly in the quantum-shielded briefing room. "They don't just take minds. They feed on them. Each harvest makes their collective consciousness stronger, which makes our success even more shocking to them," Alina concluded. "They've never failed before." "Exactly. And Dr. Zhang's latest discovery suggests why. The Admiral gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a complex quantum pattern that somehow hurt to look at directly. The Vyrix consciousness network has a fundamental flaw. Their hunger for other minds has made them vulnerable to exactly the kind of quantum manipulation we've perfected. The briefing room's door slid open, admitting Dr. Zhang himself. The quantum physicist looked tired but excited, his usually pristine lab coat showing signs of days spent in continuous research. "Commander Reyes, we've done it. The quantum interceptors are ready." Elena felt a surge of anticipation. The interceptors were humanity's most ambitious weapon yet, devices capable of not just blocking consciousness transfer, but redirecting it. "You're sure they'll work?" "We tested them against the captured Vyrix fragments," Kai confirmed. "Their consciousness network is incredibly sophisticated, but it's also rigid. They never developed defenses against this kind of attack because they never imagined anyone could turn their own technology against them." Admiral Chen's hologram nodded. "Which brings us to Operation Mindstorm. Commander, your mission is to lead the first strike deep into Vyrix space. The Sentinel will head a fleet of 5 ships, all equipped with the new interceptors. Your target is their primary harvest processing facility in the Arcturus sector." The tactical display updated, showing a massive structure floating in deep space. The facility pulsed with quantum energy, processing the stolen consciousness of countless species into food for the Vyrix collective. "Dr. Zhang and Dr. Chen will accompany you," the Admiral continued. "You'll need their expertise when you breach the facility. But remember, this isn't just about destruction. We need to free the harvested consciousness stored there. Every mind they've stolen is a potential ally." Elena studied the mission parameters, her tactical mind already formulating strategies. "The Vyrix will have reinforced their defenses after our last encounter. They won't underestimate us again." "No," Kai agreed, "but they still don't know our full capabilities. The interceptors are just part of what we've prepared. Maya's been working on something special, a quantum virus that can infect their consciousness network." The mission launched 3 days later. The Sentinel led its small fleet through quantum space, their enhanced drives allowing them to slip past the Vyrix early warning network. Elena stood on the bridge, watching as they approached their target. "Multiple contacts," Lieutenant Foster reported. "Vyrix defensive fleet holding position around the facility, counting 20 capital ships." "They're nervous," Elena observed. "Look at their formation. They're expecting an attack, but they don't know from where." She opened a channel to the other ships. "All vessels, initiate quantum masking. Time to show them our newest trick." The human fleet shimmered and seemed to fade from reality as their quantum masks activated. Another innovation born from decades of preparation, the ability to exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, virtually invisible to Vyrix sensors. In the ship's quantum lab, Kai and Maya made final adjustments to their weapons. The interceptors hummed with potential, ready to turn the Vyrix's consciousness harvesting technology into a trap. "First wave, launch interceptors," Elena commanded. Dozens of small devices shot from the human ships, their quantum signatures masked until the last possible moment. The Vyrix never saw them coming. The interceptors detonated in a cascade of quantum energy, creating a web of consciousness-disrupting fields around the facility. Vyrix ships caught in the blast zones went dark, their crew's collective consciousness shattered or redirected. "Multiple confirmed hits," Foster reported. "Their defensive line is breaking." Wait, massive energy spike from the facility. The harvest processing station began to pulse with blinding energy. A transmission cut through all frequencies. "Primitive humans, you think you understand consciousness. We have devoured millions of minds. We are beyond your comprehension." The facility's quantum signature changed, growing stronger as it drew power from its stored consciousness. But that was exactly what they had hoped for. "Now, Dr. Chen," Elena ordered. Maya activated her quantum virus, sending it through the facility's own consciousness network. The virus was elegant in its simplicity. It didn't try to destroy the Vyrex's consciousness. Instead, it awakened the stored minds of their victims. The effect was immediate and devastating. Millions of harvested consciousness suddenly surged back to awareness, their combined will turning against their captors. The facility's quantum field became a battleground of minds. "They're losing control," Kai reported, monitoring the quantum fluctuations. "The stored consciousness are fighting back." "There." He paused, eyes widening. "They're helping us. The freed minds are attacking the Vyrex network." Elena allowed herself a fierce smile. "Launch second wave. Full assault pattern. Let's give our new allies the chance they need." The battle that followed would be remembered as humanity's first major offensive victory against the Vyrex. The combined assault of human weapons and freed consciousness shattered the facility's defenses. One by one, the stored minds were released, each one turning against their former captors. As the facility began to collapse, Elena received a transmission, not from the Vyrex, but from one of the freed minds. The voice spoke in multiple languages simultaneously, conveying gratitude and a warning. "Thank you for freeing us, but beware. What you've done here will not go unanswered. The Vyrex will retaliate with everything they have." "Let them come," Elena replied. "We'll be ready." She turned to her crew. "Set course for Luna Base. Phase 1 of Operation Mindstorm is complete. Time to prepare for their response." The Sentinel and its fleets looked back into quantum space, leaving behind a destroyed facility and a shattered Vyrex defense fleet. But more importantly, they left with new allies, thousands of freed consciousness ready to join humanity's fight against their former captors. The war was far from over, but the rules had changed. The Vyrex were no longer just facing humanity. They were facing every species they had ever tried to harvest. Their greatest weapon had become their greatest vulnerability. The quantum map room aboard Luna Base displayed a sea of red markers, Vyrex battle fleets mobilizing across their empire. The liberation of the harvest facility had provoked exactly the response humanity had anticipated. Dr. Maya Chen studied the holographic display, her expression grim but determined. "They're committing everything," she observed, "just as we predicted." Admiral Chen nodded, his weathered face illuminated by the quantum projections. The Vyrex cannot afford to appear vulnerable. Their entire empire is built on the fear of their consciousness harvesting capability. Now that we've proven it can be defeated, they have to respond with overwhelming force. Commander Elena Rice finished. She stood before the tactical display, watching the enemy fleet movements with practiced eyes. "Which makes this the perfect moment for Operation Mirror." Dr. Kai Zhang entered the briefing room, carrying a quantum data crystal that pulsed with subtle energy. "The final calculations are complete. If we're going to do this, it has to be now." Operation Mirror was humanity's most audacious plan yet, a massive deception that would turn the Vyrex's own arrogance against them. While their main fleets gathered for what they thought would be a decisive strike against Earth, a small team would penetrate deep into their territory, with a weapon that could end the war. "The quantum cloak is ready," Maya reported. "We can maintain the illusion of a defenseless Earth long enough for the infiltration team to reach their target." Elena studied the mission parameters again. She would lead a small team, including both scientists, aboard the Sentinel. Their target was the Vyrex Consciousness Nexus, the heart of their empire's neural network. While the bulk of humanity's fleet engaged the Vyrex Armada near Earth, drawing their attention, the Sentinel would deliver its payload directly to the enemy's core. "Show me the latest intelligence from our freed allies," Elena requested. The holographic display shifted, showing information provided by the liberated consciousness they'd rescued. The Vyrex Empire's structure became clear, a vast network of quantum-linked minds, all connected to the central nexus. Their strength was also their weakness. Disrupt the nexus, and the entire empire would fall. "The infiltration route is mapped," Admiral Chen said. "The freed consciousness have provided details of blind spots in their sensor network, but timing will be critical. Too early, and they'll detect the deception. Too late, and Earth's defenses might not hold against their full assault. Elena finished. No pressure. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. The Sentinel underwent its final modifications, its quantum systems enhanced with technology that would allow it to mimic Vyrex's energy signatures. Maya's consciousness virus was refined and loaded into specially designed quantum warheads. Kai's interceptors were calibrated to their most precise settings. Remember, Kai briefed the crew, we're not just trying to destroy their nexus. We need to free the accumulated consciousness of countless species they've harvested over millennia. Some of those minds have been trapped for thousands of years. Elena felt the weight of that responsibility. This wasn't just about humanity's survival anymore. They were fighting to liberate every species the Vyrex had ever victimized. The mission launched under absolute secrecy. As the main Vyrex fleet approached Earth, seemingly encountering only token resistance, the Sentinel slipped through quantum space using paths provided by their freed allies. The ship's enhanced systems perfectly mimicked Vyrex energy signatures, making them appear as just another vessel in their vast empire. Approaching the Nexus system, Lieutenant Foster reported, her voice tight with tension. Vyrex traffic control is requesting identification. Maya activated their deception protocols, transmitting codes they'd extracted from captured Vyrex ships. For a moment, everyone on the bridge held their breath. "We're cleared," Foster announced. "They think we're a routine consciousness transport." The Nexus itself was a massive structure, a crystalline sphere surrounded by quantum energy fields. It pulsed with the combined consciousness of billions of harvested minds, the source of the Vyrex's power and the heart of their empire. "Defense grid is minimal," Elena observed. They never expected anyone to reach this far into their territory, let alone pose a threat to the Nexus itself. In the ship's quantum lab, Kai and Maya made final adjustments to their weapons. The plan was elegant in its complexity. They would use the Vyrex's own consciousness network to distribute Maya's virus, while Kai's interceptors would prevent the enemy from severing the connection. Receiving tactical update from Earth, Foster reported. "The Vyrex fleet has engaged our defenders. Operation Mirror is in full effect." Elena allowed herself a grim smile. Back in the Sol system, humanity's forces were putting on a magnificent show, appearing to struggle against the Vyrex assault while actually leading them into carefully prepared kill zones. "Take us in," she ordered. "Time to end this." The Sentinel glided toward the Nexus, its deception holding firm. They were nearly in position when a priority alert flashed across their screens. "Multiple quantum fluctuations," Foster called out. "They're detecting something." "Maintain course," Elena commanded. "Maya, begin virus upload." "Kai, interceptors on my mark." The Nexus's defenses began to activate, but they were seconds too late. Maya's virus surged through their systems, riding the very consciousness network that gave the Vyrex their power. Simultaneously, Kai's interceptors created a quantum barrier, preventing them from isolating the infection. The effect was catastrophic. For the Vyrex, the virus didn't just disrupt their network. It awakened every harvested consciousness stored in the Nexus. Billions of minds, some ancient beyond measure, suddenly surged back to awareness. The Nexus blazed with energy as the freed consciousness turned against their captors. The Vyrex tried to maintain control, but they were overwhelmed by the sheer volume of awakened minds fighting for freedom. "It's working," Maya reported, her voice filled with wonder. "The freed consciousness, they're not just fighting back. They're taking control of the network." Elena opened a channel to Earth. "Admiral, Operation Mirror is successful. The Nexus is compromised. You may execute final phase." Across the galaxy, the Vyrex Empire began to collapse. Their consciousness network, the source of their power, was turned against them by their former victims. The massive fleet attacking Earth suddenly found itself cut off from its command structure. Its crew's collective consciousness shattered. But Elena and her crew had little time to celebrate. The freed consciousness were surging through the network, and the Nexus itself was becoming unstable. "All hands, prepare for emergency quantum jump," she ordered. "Our work here is done." As the Sentinel prepared to depart, they received one final transmission, a chorus of countless voices speaking as one. "We are free. Humanity has our gratitude and our allegiance. The Harvesters will never threaten another species again." The ship slipped into quantum space just as the Nexus began its final collapse, leaving behind the ruins of an empire that had dared to prey upon the consciousness of others. The war wasn't over. There would be pockets of Vyrix resistance to deal with, but their power was broken forever. Humanity had not only survived, they had liberated countless civilizations and changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Not bad for a species the Vyrix had dismissed as primitive prey. 1 year after Operation Mirror, Commander Elena Reyes stood in the newly constructed Galactic Assembly on Luna, watching representatives of 100 freed species gather for the first time. The massive chamber hummed with quantum translators, allowing the diverse array of consciousness to communicate freely. Some existed as pure energy within quantum matrices, others inhabited synthetic bodies, and still others appeared only as holographic projections, all of them victims of the Vyrix, now free to shape their own destinies. Dr. Kai Zhang and Dr. Maya Chen joined her at the observation platform, their faces reflecting the gravity of the moment. The fall of the Vyrix Empire had changed everything, but change brought its own challenges. "The last Vyrix holdouts surrendered yesterday," Maya reported, checking her quantum feed. "The consciousness liberation teams found another 10,000 stored minds in their facility. Some of them had been trapped for over 10,000 years." Elena nodded, remembering the moment they'd first realized the true scope of the Vyrix crimes. "How are the awakened ones adapting?" "Better than we expected," Kai replied. "The quantum integration protocols we developed are helping them adjust to freedom. Many of them are choosing to remain in the quantum networks we've built, but others are accepting synthetic bodies or returning to their original worlds." The chamber below fell silent as Admiral Chen took the podium. His dress uniform gleamed under the soft lights as he addressed the assembled representatives. 1 year ago, humanity faced a choice, he began. "We could have used our quantum technology solely for defense, protecting only ourselves from the Vyrix threat. Instead, we chose a harder path, to fight not just for our survival, but for the freedom of every consciousness the Vyrix had ever imprisoned." Elena remembered the battles, the risks they'd taken, the moments when failure had seemed certain. But humanity's greatest weapon hadn't been their technology or their careful planning. It had been their fundamental understanding that consciousness, in any form, had the right to exist freely. "The Vyrix believed that consciousness was a resource to be harvested," the Admiral continued. "They never understood that it was their own consciousness that had become imprisoned, trapped in an endless cycle of consumption that could never bring true advancement." In the years since the Empire's fall, humanity had worked tirelessly to help the freed species rebuild. The quantum networks originally designed to shield Earth now span dozens of star systems, providing havens for consciousness of all forms. The interceptor technology had been adapted to facilitate communication between different types of minds. Even the consciousness virus had been repurposed, becoming a tool for healing traumatized minds. "But our work is not finished," Chen declared. "Today, we establish the Consciousness Protection Accord. Never again will any species be allowed to harvest the minds of others. Never again will consciousness be treated as a resource to be consumed." Elena felt a familiar presence touch her mind, one of the ancient consciousness they'd freed from the Nexus. They called themselves the First Ones, having been among the Vyrix's earliest victims. Now they served as advisors, their vast experience helping to guide the recovery efforts. "Your species continues to surprise us," the First One communicated. "Most races, upon achieving such a victory, would seek to establish dominion. Instead, you build networks of cooperation." "Domination was never our goal," Elena replied silently, the quantum translators carrying her thoughts. "We remember what it was like to be considered prey. We won't become the new predators. The assembly chamber erupted in a chorus of agreement as the accord was formally ratified. Representatives from every freed species added their signatures, some through quantum signatures, others through more traditional means. Earth, as the architect of liberation, was named the first guardian of the accord, but not its ruler. The age of consciousness harvesting is over, Admiral Chen concluded. But we face new challenges. There are other threats in the galaxy, other empires that may not share our views on consciousness rights. We must be ready. Later, in a private meeting room overlooking the Earth, Alina met with her old crew from the Sentinel. Lieutenant Foster, now captain of her own ship, brought the latest intelligence. We're detecting quantum signatures similar to the Vyrix in the Andromeda Galaxy, she reported. Different pattern, but same basic principle, consciousness manipulation on a massive scale. How long until they reach us? Alina asked, though she already suspected the answer. 5 years, maybe 6. They've noticed the sudden silence from Vyrix space. They'll come to investigate eventually. Kai and Maya exchanged glances. The quantum shield network is stronger than ever, Maya said. And we've learned so much from working with the freed consciousness. Whatever's coming, we'll be ready. Elena studied the tactical display, showing the combined fleet now protecting their region of space. Ships crewed by humans flew alongside vessels controlled by pure consciousness, while hybrid crews demonstrated that different forms of life could work together effectively. Send word to the Accord members, she decided. We need to prepare, but we'll do it right. No preemptive strikes, no paranoid isolation. We'll face this threat the same way we faced the Vyrix, together. As she looked out at the Earth glowing blue and green below, Alina reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as apparent prey, revealed themselves as formidable defenders, and emerged as something even greater, protectors of consciousness itself. The Vyrix had wanted to harvest minds. Instead, they had inadvertently created something unprecedented. An alliance of consciousness spanning multiple species and forms of existence. Whatever came from Andromeda would face not just humanity's quantum weapons and clever strategies, but the combined will of every species that had learned the true value of mental freedom. They thought we were prey, Alina murmured, remembering the first Vyrix transmission they'd ever received. They never understood that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to turn enemies into allies, to learn from every challenge, to fight not just for our own survival, but for something greater. The quantum networks hummed with activity as consciousness of all forms worked together, preparing for whatever the future might bring. Humanity had changed the rules of galactic civilization. They had shown that consciousness wasn't meant to be harvested or controlled, but to flourish in freedom. And if anyone else tried to threaten that freedom, they would learn the same lesson as the Vyrix, that humanity had evolved far beyond its origins as prey, becoming something unique in the galaxy, a species that fought not for dominance, but for the right of all consciousness to exist in peace.